Chapter 6, How to Change Anything in Your Life. This talks a lot about how our brain functions in patterns. And Tony's created 6 steps for getting us out of pain and into pleasure. And the first step is to ask yourself, what do I really want? When we try to answer this question, many of us usually think about what we don't want. I don't want to look the same way I look now. I don't want to work the same job. I don't want my car to break down. But we really have to focus on what we do want, because that puts us in a solution-based mindset.
Step 2 is we need to get leverage on ourselves. One of the stories that Tony shared in this chapter were 2 women that really struggled with committing to a diet. The diet would go through and they'd always struggled with having cake or eating things that they just shouldn't have. So one of the ways they created leverage on themselves was to challenge each of them. And the challenge was that if either one of them broke the diet, they would have to eat a can of dog food. So each one of them had this can of dog food with the ingredient list on the back, and whenever they were tempted with foods that they enjoyed and that they thought would keep them from sticking to the diet, they would read the ingredients on the back of the dog food can. Yuck, like that had to have made them not want to give up on that diet.
Step 3 is to interrupt your limiting pattern. We've all been in the situation where we're talking with someone else comes in, interrupts us, and then all of a sudden we can't remember what we were talking about. That's the same kind of interruption that we have to replicate when we're having a negative state. So Tony talks about if you have a situation, maybe your boss yelled at you this morning, and you oftentimes keep replaying that in your mind over and over and over again until you keep getting more angry, more frustrated, more hurt. You have to interrupt that thought process. So he says one way to do that maybe is to think about the situation that you're playing in your mind and turn it into a cartoon. Make your boss a Looney Tunes character, something you can laugh at, and that laughter will help break that negative thought pattern.
Step 4 is to create a new empowering alternative. If you have a gambling habit, figure out what pleasure senses that gambling habit is hitting. Do you enjoy winning? Are you really competitive? If so, maybe think about taking on a new sport, learning a new sport and trying to get really, really good at that, and see if that hits those same pleasure senses of winning and being competitive.
Step 5 is to condition the new pattern until it's consistent. This is all about reinforcement. So if you make a goal, let's say you're going to go a week without eating any sugar. At the end of that week, you did a great job and you want to reward yourself. So you're like, let's have cake, let's have cookies, let's have ice cream. But that puts you right back into the old pattern that you're really trying hard to break. So what Tony says is a good idea is to find a reinforcement method that keeps you focused on the new habit and the new pattern. So maybe instead you go out and you buy some new clothes that you look great in, that you feel confident in, because maybe you lost a few pounds during that week of saying no to sugar.
The last and final step is to test it. Test it against what? We need to test it against our belief systems, our values, and our lifestyle. Let's go back to the gambling habit, for example. If that person that has the gambling habit is prone to injuries or is getting old, then sports probably isn't going to be the best way for them to hit their new pleasure senses. Maybe they'll never be able to win, or maybe they won't be able to find anyone who's competitive with them. So maybe they should stick to trying to play board games or Nintendo games. Whatever it is, just try to test it with whatever it is you're trying to do.